Hello everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on whichever part of the world you are today. Uh, the session for today is AI powered service operation. We have our esteemed panelists today. But before we begin, I would like to set the context. In today's digitally transformative time, it has become critical for organization to have their business critical services to have remain always available and responsive. But like we all have seen, the unwarranted events, disjointed manual tools, and siloed operations keep on challenging IT heads and enterprises on a frequent basis. In the context of recent unprecedented events and like companies are now moving to hybrid workspaces and multi cloud environment, the large volume of user service requests and machine generated incidents are threatening to create uh, challenges in the IT services and operations. Thankfully, we have technologies like artificial intelligence who can predict 35% of incidents before they happen, and that's improving day by day. It basically help improve the overall IT maturity from being reactive to proactive, enabling businesses drive exceptional experiences to their users and drive more efficiencies. In fact, in one of the research, Forrester had identified that AI ops helps tackle the top IT service priorities of cost and risk reduction. So in today's session, our panelists will deliberate their insights and based on their experiences that how enterprises can turn to change management and automation by harnessing AI-powered service operations to deliver exceptional employee and user experiences all the time. So I would like to welcome our esteemed guest for today, uh, Mr. Jayanta Prabhu, Chief Information Officer, ADC Network, a global leader in enterprise communication. Hello, Mr. Prabhu. You can unmute
Morning.
yourself.
Hi, morning all.
Hi.
Morning.
We have. Do we have Mr. Anil Nama? Has he joined from Control Data Centers?
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Hi, Mr. Nama. Good morning. And Mr. Rupesh Nayan, Chief Information and Digital Officer, Adani Group.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi, sir. A very good morning to you. And Mr. Venugopal S. Akot, Senior Director, Solution Consulting from ServiceNow.
Very good morning.
Very good morning, sir. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you, and thanks again for joining us. Request all participants if they have any question, we'll keep last 5 to 8 minutes for a Q&A session. If you have any question with any of the panelists during the course of the discussion, you can please share that to the chat window. We'll be happy to take it after the once we'll finish the session. So just to set the context, all of all of you IT leaders. So probably I would just to start with Mr. Nama. So Control S is one of the largest data center and managed service provider in the APAC region. So probably you can just throw some light on how IT infrastructure and resources are being consumed in your organization, and how do you see the role of newest technologies such as AI in driving more agility in IT ops?
Thank you, Dr. Baji. Welcome all IT. So Control S, the data center part, I will do it. Let's talk about IT operations and how we are doing it. Now let's start with basic thing in IT operations. We put monitoring tools. The monitoring tools gives alerts. A lot of the time they are false alerts. Even when the alert comes, you are not sure whether the system is down, not down. You need to do some diagnostics to find out the degree of affected systems. And then finally, you go on to remediate the situation. Now, if you look at it from an automation standpoint of view, it's pretty easy to do it with today's tool. So let's see automation with alerts. The alert comes, the tool takes it, and let us say like a human, I am checking my Outlook, or I am checking my server, I am checking my database. There is a specific set of commands or script that I run to find the health of the system after I get the alert. The same thing can be run by the script, and it can then give an output. This output in physical terms is analyzed by the people or the experts, and then they take remediatory actions. If the output does not give anything which is going to affect, you can just term it as false alert, and thereby you can have a very timely system to handle only pure alerts. Now let's get a level next over this alerts. Sometimes in systems like SAP, sometimes in systems like Oracle, we take out system reports. We have to look at log files. We have to find what is the quantity of the log which is there, and then we have to match it to the known error in the system. In Oracle, it's known, every Oracle DBA knows Metasolve. So you go to the Metasolve repository, you find out whether that same symptom is there, and if it is there, then what is the possible mitigation. In SAP terms, this is known as SAP Notes. You go to the SAP using your SUSE login, you find out the relevant SAP Notes, it suggests you certain sections, and accordingly you act. Now let us say, behind this script, we also put something for optical recognition, like the human eyes read the logs. That could be called as an RPA, or you could call it as an AI bot, whichever way you want to call it as. But beyond your script, suddenly you can now go inside the system. You can take those logs, you can analyze the particular error, and then hand it over to a system which goes and searches in a Metasolve or a SAP or a MSDN of Microsoft, and then filters out that to the actionables. This is all about diagnostics, and this step is pretty easy to put in. We are also developing such a system. We call it as SOP, Self-Healing Operations Platform. Beyond this SOP, now that I have diagnosed, if we see our IT delivery, we have something which is known as known error databases. Or you may call it as SOPs, you may call it as remediation or medicines, whatever you want to call it as. So the tool in the second leg can also pick up these SOPs if we have scripted them and can run it on the system. So let's take an example. Let us say that suddenly the firewall thing has become very slow. My gateway is very slow, and overall the website is responding slow. Maybe the client session timeout is faster than what I have configured in the firewall or load balancer. In terms of HTTP, it will give a code number 409. So my tool will go to World Wide Web logs. It will pick up if there is an error of 409. It means that in the firewall, you have a lot of sessions which are idle, which are occupying its memory, making it slow. And therefore, it will go there, and all those idle sessions, it will time it. And hence and therefore, your whatever is the scale at which that you want to use, you can use. Let's take another example of how to use it. Let us say there is a website. Let's go with very simple examples. There is a website and you are getting a 404 error. That means that resource, whatever we are asking, is not present. Let us say I ask for a.pdf or b.pdf, it's not present. Once again, such a tool can go in, pick up the www log, find out what is given in 404, and for that particular resource, notify to the administrator saying that, boss, please check if this is a resource that you have, there is a problem in the website. If this is not a resource that you have, right, then ensure that instead of 404, you give some other message, because as a customer experience, it looks very bad when you turn out the customer. Same thing could be done with a website under maintenance. Let's say I put a website under maintenance. Instead of just giving a 404 errors to the end user, you could put up a simple dashboard for that change period to say that website is under maintenance. At the end of the cab, you could automatically remove and carry out the operations. Let's take another example, a slightly more complex example. Let us say that now in this case, there was a transaction to be made inside a database and the database is very slow. So what could you do? You could do with 300 series of errors. The 300 series of errors would say that yes, the material is not ready to be delivered and we have a wait time. This is the response that is given by the web server. This could be taken out from the web logs and could be supplied to the database guys, so that if they are carrying out any structured query or any MIS report at that time, they understand that the transactions are getting stopped or delayed for the end user. And that is how in IT operations, when you use these type of operations, it's seemingly very easy to connect the teams who are working in silos to understand the language. Now, for a fairly complex, for example, Jayanta Sar's or Rajesh Sar's setup, we will have to download because they have hundreds of applications. So we can think of a ELK server or a syslog server or a separate repository in itself, which names these logs by the applications, which have those application owners, which has the support IT ops behind it. And then you run this parser or so-called, AI engine on them, and you bring it up. Let's take another advance over it. Let's say it's a core banking, internet banking kind of extension or ATM banking kind of extension. Now we are sitting in the ATM and we have put in the card and suddenly no money comes up. So how do you handle it in such a situation? In such a situation, my ATM card, the debit card, a Visa card, or RuPay would have a database. Let's call it as a customer database inside this same ELK setup. It can even be an end user, an employee, a vendor, or a contractor. So you dump his connectivity errors in that database and you relate his connection inside the first level, which is the firewall or the proxy server. And then you work out through the various layers. Not only can I give a status back in near real time to the end user, saying that yes, we know we did ATM transaction, cash did not come out, relax, we'll revert it. Brings a lot of pressure down and a large experience onto the end user. At the same time, where did this error come from? Was the resource not available? Was the transaction systems going slow? Was it a problem in protocol, ODBC, JDBC connectivities between app to DC, DB? All that you could isolate and give an intelligent system, even if you don't have remediation for it. Let's say I don't have an SOP. At least that can be displayed to the respective technical expert, SMEs who are there. Will take a much faster diagnostic, bringing an outage lasting an hour or a 2 hour down to less than 30 minutes. So this is how we are using it. We're trying to train the ML engine on top of it because each applications, each database, and we know the operating systems also have so many bugs. They come out with patches. So every time there are unknown errors which are coming in. Now, do these unknown errors which are affecting my system, are they a subject matter expert, or is there already a patch which is available, or there is a workaround from the OEM which is available? This is where we are training our ML.
Okay.
How much have we reached? Close to 95% of our false alerts are handled by shop. We have reached a 63% in handling alerts and service requests. Service requests are routine requests, add user, add firewall rules, all those are routine requests. So we have reached to that level. Is it 100% fail safe yet? No, I would say it is semi, but it has brought a lot of 4 hours, 2 hours problem to less than 30 minutes category. And that's how the response or the experience of the end user is.
Great, sir. Great. I'll get back to you. I think you raised some pertinent points related to false alarms being, the work around that. So probably I'll again get back to you that how generating false alarms also could be a hindrance in the longer term. I mean, if there are so many false alarms, a lot of CIOs they do feel that it can actually impact the efficiency as well. I'll probably take Venugopal's view also on that. But before that, I would like to understand from Mr. Prabhu Jayanta Prabhu, Chief Information Officer, AGC Networks, which is AGC Network, a global leader in enterprise comms. His perspective on how can IT ops leverage new age technologies like IT, like machine learning and artificial intelligence to predict issues, prevent impact, and automate resolutions in time. So,
Yeah, thanks, Jitendra. Thanks for inviting me. See, if you see the SR perspective, and SR, we have a different vertical: port, shipping, power, mining. Then we have a refinery and all.
yeah.
And what happened is that over the year, what we are seeing, pace of digital adoption or digital transformation, it is increased in each vertical. And a lot of business functions, they're sitting in a uh, uh, sitting there to identify right use cases and how I can get a ROI. And means they are looking for that. And during this pandemic, what happened means people can't come to office, and operation anyway it has to run 24/7. And a lot of use cases they thought, means they understood, and COVID has taught that. Okay, because of that one, now what happened is that a lot of business people, they're coming back and telling that I want to automate this process, I want to adopt this digital technology so that I can improve the efficiency, productivity, and everything. So that is happening from business side, and business, there is a keenness we have seen to adopt the digital technology now. Okay, and when you are adopting digital technology, then there are two things comes out. One is that for adopting any digital technology without cloud, you can't do anything. Okay, whatever you are hosted in the on-premises, you need to take 50 to 60% of applications or database on cloud to bring that agility to end customers. Okay, that is the first part. Second part is that in siloed, you can't implement digital adoption. We can't do, means you need to integrate multiple systems, multiple business units, and multiple areas. And because of that, what happened is that now you are integrating IT and OT. Means these two systems, it's running in a silo environment. Today it is integrated, and when it is integrated, then you have a dual kind of responsibility. It's more than IT. You need to protect OT systems on security side, and means there are multiple sensors which generating data today, and you need to manage that data. And today we are sitting in an environment, data is everywhere. Data is sitting in user desktop, data is sitting in individual's mobile handset, it is on cloud, it is on on-premises, it is with sensors also. There are a lot of sensors, it comes with their own this one storage also, everywhere. And because of that data explosion, today giving a right user experience, ultimately solution is means a byproduct, means a end user experience for an internal customer or external customer. That is important, means how you can give a right user experience. And traditional way, if you really ask me, we used to run like all the reactive things, means if any problem happened, you are going there, you are resolving then, and you are coming back, and you are creating a RCA for that. Means in digital environment, it doesn't work. Everything, it has to be protected, and everything, it has to be proactive, particularly. Means otherwise, that user experience, what you emphasize, you can't give it to internal or external customer. And you need to have a detailed visibility on infrastructure side, application side, your risk, is your vulnerability, your all the servers hosted in cloud or on premise. Means that is the one thing. And at the same moment, you want to understand what is the status of, if you at this moment, if I want to see what is the current state of my application, my vulnerability, my risk, my app status, everything, then you need a total automated tool. And you wanted a next generation tool which can do a proactive alert to you and proactive solution to you. And that is the reason in SR environment over the year, we have seen it's coming to our way, and we have gone and adopted a ServiceNow as a tool for our service operation. It is an AI related service operation, and this is rolled out in multiple countries today. And it is integrated with SAP, it is integrated with multiple applications, so that in one dashboard, at least we have a visibility what's happening within IT. That is the thing, it is happening in SR. And there more improvement is possible, means customer, means that expectation is increasing day by day. Means there is no stop for that. To improve that and provide a right experience, we need to adopt this kind of tools.
Sure, Jayanta. Thanks for sharing your perspective. And you rightly said data is the new growth engine for almost every enterprise in today's the digital transformative times, when everyone is moving to digital. Having good data and analyzing it in a better way is something can gives you an edge to predict and anticipate a lot of things, IT flaws well in advance. So thanks for sharing your perspective. Now I would like to understand from Mr. Nayan, Rupesh Nayan, Chief Information and Data Officer, Adani Group, who has spearheaded several such initiatives in his organization and has very vast experience in AI ML driven technologies, to share his perspective on the best ways to address data quality related to service availability, and how he foresee the role of AI in changing the overall IT ops ecosystem.
Thank you very much for this. Good question. So first of all, I have a viewpoint which is, generally as IT leaders, whatever we do for business, and for business transformation. This particular AI ops is an area which we are doing primarily for our own benefit. So because this will solve our own problems. As IT leaders, we have to manage problem of the business. So one is, we do the digital transformation for increasing the efficiency, productivity, new business models, and all this stuff. But wherein the basic IT operational activities are concerned, they are there and they will remain. Because whatever you run at the back end in terms of infrastructure, network, applications, they have to run smoothly. We have, from ages, we have ITIL tools, we have monitoring tools, and they were helping us in managing the incidents in a reactive manner. Problem with those approaches was, already the damage has been done, or the customer experience is not there. Already he is not happy with the IT services. And then we do reactive actions to ensure that, okay, he becomes happy with whatever actions we take. Now with the advanced technologies of machine learning, artificial intelligence, clubbing it with the service operations activities, we are able to do things in a more predictive way. So before any incident happens, we are able to know that, okay, maybe there is some capacity utilization issue is going to come. Some warning is already there, which ultimately can convert into an error, and ultimately my operation will stop. There are two ways to it. Once I get that alert, maybe I can take some actions to rectify that problem, and ultimately user does not experience that degradation or interruption in the services. And secondly, as Mr. Nama was also sharing, with the new tools and technologies coming in, and with the algorithmic help, with the data which is already generated, taking that data which help us to improve upon machine learning algorithms. Furthermore, with more the data, more algorithm accuracy will come. With that, we can really help the business in terms of proactively supporting their operations. This is the fundamental support mechanism for us. Here, main challenge comes with the traditional monitoring tools, or even AI ops tool, which are inherent now. Some of the already developed applications like ERP, CRMs, and some of the applications are already coming with AI ops tools, but they are specific to that particular product. So when it comes to an integrated environment where databases, services, and multiple products coming from the standard domains of infrastructure, application, network have to work together, then this becomes more important. because otherwise identifying a issue is not that easy unless until this integration layer is clear. And there I believe the machine learning and artificial intelligence is helping the leaders and even the companies who are making the products better and more refined, which are helping the businesses to be more proactive in support.
Great, sir. Thanks for sharing your perspective. Yeah, integrating it with different capabilities and creating more support is definitely is the need of the hour. Now, I would like to invite uh, Mr. Venugopal from ServiceNow, a cloud computing platform which help companies manage their digital workflows for enterprise operation, to share his perspective and some of the bottlenecks what he's seeing his customers are facing, and how 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 does he see by deploying AI in service operations and connecting the enterprise connectivity can be improved, and probably he can share some of the things he has observed while dealing with his customers. Venugopal.
Sure, Jatinder, and it is indeed
Thanks.
a pleasure to be part of this conversation today.
Thanks.
I think Anil brought in a point very important in terms of false positives.
Yeah.
And Jayanta mentioned about importance of data and risk associated with it, how it's important to embed risk to manage the business itself, because IT is, someone said, it's not just the backbone, but the brains now. And Rupesh nicely put in short, it's about ERP of IT. These kind of areas. It's so critical in this point of time. But I would want to step back on a data itself. What is the data after all? It's a set of values or variables about maybe quantitative or qualitative, about an object, about a person, or any of these things. And this data, we can call it as a configurable data. And this configurable data needs to have relationship to its services. So a data point like a server capacity or an event or an alert related to a particular server, a database, a network, a firewall, to a service that is rendered at the end of the day. This is the relationship. And common data models help in making this relationship. But this same asset or a configurable item could be related to a different scenario altogether, for an employee lifecycle or for a customer lifecycle. But the data box is the same. The dimensions to look at it is different. So at the base model, having this data and relationship is fundamental to what we do. Then comes the configurable data, the observability data, the infrastructure as a code, and rest of them begins to join in terms of how we manage it. So at the end of the day, having a common services data model helps the ability to understand where exactly the problem is and be able to do the change impact analysis and thereafter do reactive, proactive, and predictive. Now, when it comes to AI ops, we talk about few areas, and I think Jayant also brought in certain algorithms, and Rupesh also said algorithms like similarity, clustering, and Bayesian theorems helps in terms of providing intelligence in different dimensions of the phase of a life cycle. And auto assignment would require a similarity and a clustering sort of a thing based on availability of resources, and it could go into providing not just IT service management but also field services in many ways, providing the right skill and things like that. And at the end of the day, IT is in the service of the business many ways. The next part is about using theorems like Bayesian theorem, where predictability becomes, as you started off saying, that the predictability could be 35% to begin with, but how do we increase this predictability and the confidence levels? So the ability, the action before it happens, and that's what Jayanta said, before it happens, it needs to be avoided, prevented. And that's where the entire architecture of service now in terms of providing event correlation and all the intelligence is worked upon there to make a clear-cut cockpit for the CIOs to manage their businesses much more effectively. Over to you, Jitendra.
Thanks, Venugopal. I mean, that's very valid points, valid and pertinent points. The predictability percentage, it has to be it has to be further increased. So just before I again our eminent CIOs, I'll reach out to them. From your perspective, I mean, since you have been working with a lot of users. So how do you see these? You talked about data, but data and machine learning, I mean, you have to have robust data, and historical patterns of data are also very important, so that machines can learn and adapt themselves, so that this percentage what we were talking about, that can be increased. So from technology standpoint, are you seeing any new innovations even for processes where probably we don't have very rich historic patterns, but that can be emulated in some way through some of the recent patterns, and where the network can be more strengthened? So maybe if you can just throw some light on that.
Yeah, sure. Just very important point. Where could be the choking points arise from?
Yeah.
We always thought a network choke could be one of them, a server load could be one of them. And there are various other dimensions that could choke, and the other area could be around customer behavior, right? There is certain new functionality that we've released, and the kind of user behavior that is causing a surge in terms of consumption. How do we anticipate those surge? And those are the we call it as element AI, and which is another a part of it in terms of understanding the behavioral analysis of the user and trying to prepare our infrastructure in line with those behaviors. And it could be those infrastructural alignment could be in different ways that it could align at the IT infrastructure level, at the customer provisioning level, and many different ways. But these kinds of insights are important in terms of how do we make those possible. So I also mentioned about observability. Observability is another point about there are raw data that is coming, there's correlated data that is coming, and how do we ensure that the right kind of information is available for the right decision making? And these are some of the emerging trends that we see that adds on to the ability to do artificial intelligence, or in machine learning that we call, more and more insights or inputs into them, and that makes it much more robust. So the more the inputs, more the sources of information, this brain is possible to churn so much of data, because it's got that intelligence, the right kind of algorithms to make those decisions. We are supposed to make the systems much more with more sources of information, so that it can do much more mathematical analysis around it.
Yeah, sure. Venugopal, thanks for sharing that perspective. Going back to Mr. Nama from Control S Data Center. So this is in fact a common question for all of you. If you can pitch in. So in terms of the tips for IT leaders who are probably starting their automation and AI journey in a post-pandemic scenario, based on your learnings and experiences, what could be some of the tips that you would like to share? We can start with Mr. Nama.
Well, from a business standpoint of view, there is always a difference between the way our application owners behave and the infra owners behave. And the many companies that I have served in, I haven't still found a single stack like a Salesforce or like a ServiceNow where I get a single window clearance. So, I mean, even in SAP, a TLO or a basis guy will be talking something, and the infra guys will be talking something. And a good IT operations or a good IT ops deployment is something that can give a holistic picture around it, affecting its outcome. The more you focus them on the outcome, the lesser is the differences between the layer. The more they focus between themselves, more is the friction, or you can say reducing the friction. So my thought process around frictionless delivery is there is something that we miss as part when we make these utilities or softwares in-house. A simple example, an SAP transaction is known as a transport. From a network point of view, it is anything which is port number 10,000 plus. So a failure of a port number 10,000 plus connectivity at the firewall is actually a user request known as transport failing for the SAP administrator. And similarly, sometimes application may connect through a JDBC, they may connect through named pipes, or you have Toad type of Oracle applications installed on the application servers. And this knowledge is very less. This is known as presentation and session layer. So while infra fights till the TCP layer or the transport layer, the application fights somewhere between presentation and the application layer. It is somewhere in the boundary of the session layer that this all friction is. Have I tightened it across as a service provider? Answer is no, sir. I have been able to analyze few major applications like a Finacle, like a Oracle e-business suite and all. But whenever we have had customers, we have seen that this is a divide where you don't know when a software developer uses, let's say, a studio to develop something. He is not aware of the architecture. It's even more when you go to these cloud applications. They do not know whether they have used a gossip protocol or whether they have used a tokenized system or whether they have used a labeling system. And therefore, when you start to populate your AI MLs, it becomes that much more difficult to initially decipher everything. So my suggestion to every IT owner out there is, please start with documenting your application architecture, including the protocols which connect to each other. Once you have that roadmap, and whether you put it in a Zabbix map, whether you put it in a ServiceNow, once you start to richly collate the data around what errors or sensors these protocols are giving. We all know network errors of ICMP failures and CRC errors. But maybe that JDBC is telling that I am not getting response from database. Maybe the web server, like I explained, 100 series, 200 series, 300 series logs, they are trying to explain that what am I doing to the end user, that is the browser in front of me. And as we start, so this is where you should start your data store of a ELK or something where you collect this rich data. And once you start to make meaning of it using either algorithms, or we can take the security way where antivirus uses signatures. So HTTP or Wikipedia will give you a list of errors. The JDBC guy will give you a list of errors. The JVM will give you a list of errors. As you start to make sense of it, this friction that resides between the app layer and the infra layer starts to reduce. At the same time, you can also make meaningful insights from an infra layer inside the app layer, and the difficulties of the app layer make it visible to the infra layer, and correlate these two to the what a help desk or a request or whatever error code is coming from a end user inside the system. This is where if we start to decipher, whether we put a database, whether we start with simple, noting down, or maybe we start with discussions, tabletop discussions, but this is where all it starts. And then you start to populate the tools. First of all, you'll require a big data setup. We use ELK. You may use ServiceNow, Summit has whichever tool that you want to use it. Once you populate that as the second layer, then you find the algorithms. Now the tools like ServiceNow and all are very mature. For example, they are tightly integrated to SAPs and a lot of systems. You may even have your own tools which are coming, or you are developing something on AWS or Azure, and then it starts to make sense. A simple example of infra I can give you. We use HCIs, we use VMware, we use Hyper-V, we use Azure, we use AWS. Let's take 5 of them, any enterprise will be using.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Azure will say, I have got VPC.
Yeah.
AWS. Mr. Azure will say, I use VNet. Mr. Cisco or networking will say, I use VLANs. When you go down to Hyper-V, they'll say, I use vSwitch. I have my own VLAN tagging. And then you land into VMware, they will say, I've got a VST, GST.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it? So something like the way Subbarao told, something has to bring out that was, I need to do network segmentation.
The efficiency.
VLAN, yeah. VLAN means these IPs are part of this pool. Do not allow broadcast across. And therefore, just like security you have seen, you require a layer to correlate.
Yeah.
First, you create an architecture. Then you define or you choose the layer that you want to have competency on, which can correlate it.
Yeah.
It may take a feed of cloud, AWS, CloudTrails. It may take a Azure Monitor feed. It may take a vCenter feed, but something has to correlate it as for our architecture.
Yeah.
This is the second point, and thereafter rest all files. So that's my submission.
No, thanks. Thank you very much. I think the service and asset interdependencies which you talked, which needed to be resolved, and I'm sure the embracing process and culture change, which you briefly highlighted, that's also very, in fact, extremely critical. It can, I mean, we can discuss in detail, but in the interest of time, I'll move to our other panelist, Jayanta Prabhu. Sir, what?
Yeah.
Sir, what according to you, I mean, should be the top tips for IT leaders who are looking to embrace automation and AI in IT ops in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, my take here is that my short answer is that see, typical break-fix approach, it won't work when you're talking digital. I mean, so when you're talking digital, it can't work in silos. There are multiple systems you are integrating, multiple interfaces you are running, multiple APIs you are building, and multiple business units you are connecting. That means you are creating a complex environment. Okay, in a complex environment, this break-fix approach anyway don't work. That is one thing. And manual identification of issues, correlation of incident, then identifying the vulnerability problem. That means it's a huge task for any IT team or IT operation today we are running. And we have to be in fully control with all the IT assets, whatever we have implemented. When I'm talking assets, this may be hardware, application, it may be hosted on-prem or on cloud. You have to be in totally control. Then only you can give it that right experience to end customer. Okay, always IT is talking about I will implement a tool. Means we are going business and we are suggesting a tool. I want to implement this tool in your environment so that I can improve the productivity and efficiency. And same mindset it has to be in IT also. Means same AI tool, what I am suggesting it to business, why can't I implement by my operation? Means we should not lack in there, that particular area. And here, when you are talking in IT, you have to be very clear where you want to go. Means what is your objective? Then you need to identify all three pillars are very important. When you are talking pillars, means people who running the IT and identifying the right incidents and operating this tool. That is one thing. Second is the process. If you don't have a right process, any tool you are implementing, it doesn't work and it can't give a right outcome. Third one is that process and people technology. Means you need to have a right technology. Means IT particularly, I don't want to do a R&D and spend time in building a IT tool, which is means a lot of people, they gain the PhD or they are gone to different level. Why can't I go and adopt a tool which is already matured and multiple people are using, so that immediately I'll get that benefit instead of doing a R&D and identifying multiple things. Means people, technology and process, these are all important, and we have to be in full control with our IT assets. Then only we can give that outcome or experience, whatever we are talking, to end users.
Sure, Jayanta, that's very pertinent point which you have shared. And the even from security and compliance perspective also, I think you need strong training methodologies, and you need to ensure that people, processes and technologies are in sync with each other, which you have rightly mentioned. In the interest of time, I'll move quickly to Mr. Nayan to have his views on some of the top tips for IT leaders looking to embrace AI in IT ops.
So I believe Mr. Nama, Jayanta, both have said most of the stuff which is required. Organizations have at different level of maturity. So as a IT leader, you have to see that what maturity level your organization is currently, and accordingly you have to devise the strategy. The fundamentals will remain same, because generally when the automation or the we talk about ML AI, where the system will start taking decisions and actions, then generally teams start thinking that okay, people element becomes very critical. People think that okay, maybe I am doing this particular job today, what will happen to me? So giving that kind of assurance to the team members that they will be required for more important jobs, they have to do more quality work, is one of the important elements. Second is the groundwork. You have to be very clear, like Jayanta has very rightly said, because we talk about technology. Technology is available, and you can use it for your own purpose. But having the clear understanding of your environment in terms of what all assets you have, whether in terms of hardware, software, services which you run, because all this integrated way is very, very important. And last element is the cyber security, because any leakage in all these systems can have havoc for us if these cyber security leakages are there. So whenever we are making any solution or system in an integrated fashion, then cyber security element has to be think through from the day one. So these are a couple of points which I would like to add what our other esteemed panelists have already said.
Thanks. Thanks. Thank you very much, sir. I think very valid points. So I will, Mr. Venugopal, I'll come back to you in a while. Before that, we have two questions. In the interest of time, I would like to take these questions first. We from attendees, we have got two questions. First is, what are the main goals of artificial intelligence? Any one of you can please take it. Whosoever is more, while we have already discussed it, but still, if anyone likes to add more points, including Mr. Venugopal. Mr. Rupesh, would you like to?
I will take it. So
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, machine learning are the technologies which are available now. And as far as advantages are concerned, there are numerous advantages. So AI ops is one piece where we are talking about in terms of the IT operational perspective. In various domains, like even the healthcare, very, very critical domains, very, very important. There are such business cases which are very, very interesting. Though in some of the industries we are at nascent stage, some of the industries we are at advanced level. The whole idea with machine learning, artificial intelligence is first was the automation, as you know, and the next step becoming more and more predictive. So predictability helps us to take decisions which are timely in nature. So timely decisions are very, very important. So we take decisions, but suppose let's take example in terms of the healthcare. So if I take a decision once, I know I have a problem and my problem is there already for the 3 months, then the kind of diagnosis and chances of getting recovered are very different than before that particular damage to my body happening. I know in advance that okay, these symptoms are predicting that maybe down the line after 1.5 years or so, that kind of a possibility could be there. And if I change my habits, that can make a whole lot of change. So that their way, if you see, and this not only happens into the healthcare, if you to the manufacturing, like you have very, very high cost equipments operating. So one is the cost of the equipment. Second, the operational downtime, which happens because of the non-availability of those systems. So the predictability, like all the major manufacturing biggies of the world, like GE, Siemens, ABB, all these are now for their turbines, for their aviation businesses, are using more and more ML and AI. Reason being, because predictability helps us to take decisions. And this is the fundamental behind any object. So as Jayanta was telling some time back, the outcome. So ultimately, whenever we are thinking of adopting any technology, we have to see from outcome perspective what our advantages we are going to get. So these are a couple of examples, and we can get into this discussion for hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is no end to it. I mean, it's such a vast topic. It's very difficult to cover in an hour's time. Mr. Jayanta, there is one question for you from Mr. Alagu Raja. How do we identify use cases for IT, for AI IT ops? And do we have any methodologies to identify? If you can take that up, please.
See, my take here is that see, AI is going to be everywhere. It's like how we used to talk 2 years back. It's you need to adopt cloud, and that is the foundation for any digital adoption. Okay, and today we are talking AI. It's maybe in nascent stage today, and today AI is available everywhere. Any device you take, any solution you take, any application you take. Means it's going to be a foundation maybe 1 year's time. That is the first thing. Use case perspective, that one thing is that means see we need to go back to experts. Means like today if you are going with the service now we need to tell boss which are all use cases it is going to support. That is the first thing. Means there are multiple use cases available with the OEMs. That is the first thing. Second thing is that what is the problem statement within organization? Means within organization you may be facing multiple problems and you are creating a RCA and there is a tool required to address that. Okay, if problem statements are there, then it's very easy. Means how we can deploy a tool or we can put a process or automation and we can address that. Means use cases may come from internally. Case may come from OEMs. Use may come from a consultant also. You may hire a consultant for deploying this tool. Means these are all experts. They developed and deployed this solution at multiple places. And these people are good, means the right people who can bring out the use cases.
Sure, Jayanta, that's very well said. Mr. Venugopal, I would like to, in the interest of time, we are just running short of time. If you can sum up quickly the entire session today and maybe share some of takeaways from your perspective, and then we can conclude it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jatinder. I think there's a lot of conversations because, as Rupesh mentioned, we can go on and on for hours together or days together, this particular topic. But as Jayanta rightly said, what's the need? A business disruption could be a need, an experience could be a need, a digital transformation could be a need. I was speaking to one of the airline companies CIO other day, and he was telling that when the cargo application went down, the cost of it going down was 33,000 rupees per minute. And it went down for 48 hours and it had happened 2 times in that particular month itself. And imagine the business loss itself is that in terms of quantity. Imagine the number of people trying to find out the RCA and then the diagnostics and the remedial. These are all challenges that, we need to find the right kind of problem and what we intend to solve. That makes it very easy in terms of how we want to move forward in terms of the investment we make. The second thing is about what are those 3 trends that is in the rising. We talk about experience and experience in different dimensions in terms of customer experience, employee experience, IT experience, and various others. How do we build those experience? That could be one of them. The second one is about velocity. The change is happening at a very high speed. We need to know how we can manage those changes at that speed itself. Third is intelligence. When intelligence is applied, there is a cockpit of view I mentioned earlier. There's about risk and other parameters wherever the touch points are there. How when the journey is moving from touch to touchless, how do you mitigate those risks? Risk from partners, risk from franchisees, risk from internally, externally, so many ways. And the risk has to be embedded to manage and run the businesses. How do we do that? The 3 things that I want to talk about is about 3. One is about visibility. Visibility is about providing that insight about understanding the CI and the service I mentioned. The second is about health, that when you have visibility around the services being provided in terms of availability, predictability, and others, how strong it is, how is it good, what is good. These are the areas, the health part of it, the second part. The third part is about automating, making those point contact into contactless from a business point of view. And those are areas that we have potential to automate. And technologies and algorithms help in making this possible. And I think there's a great collaboration. There's conversations that happened today. Thank you very much for all the inputs.
Absolutely, sir. Once again, very thank you. In the interest of time, we have some back-to-back sessions and some of our other eminent panelists are waiting for the next session. So I would just like to thank each one of you for for sharing some wonderful perspective, and thank you, Venugopal, for summing it well and bringing some incredible insights around IT in AI ops and how exactly it can create value for the organization and transform the future of IT operations. Thank you very much once again. I would like to sign off this time, but I'll be in touch with each one of you to have more perspective on IT in around AI ops. Thank you very much once again.
Pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you.